Which job is a lot less fun than most people expect? Demolition. Everyone wants to break it with a sledgehammer. Everyone is tired of lifting that sledgehammer by 5 swings. Nobody wants to load the broken stuff into bags or a wheelbarrow and take it to the dumpster. Accounting isn't the adrenaline rush that most people think it is. Zookeeper. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome to be around so many amazing animals and care for them. But the smells are ridiculously, insanely foul. I have a really strong stomach and it's still tough for me. We've had some interns quit over it. I was warned about the smells when getting into the field, but thought, oh, I volunteered at animal shelters. I know what animal stink smells like. Nope, not even close. After reading through this thread for 20 minutes, I've concluded that every job sucks. Video game tester. You aren't spending your time playing completed fully realized games. You are playing the same level of a game over and over, seeing if there are bugs. I always say the more fun it is to go somewhere, the worse it is to work there, like amusement parks and arcades. Archaeologist. Did it during my 20s and that was more than enough. Long, hot days, living out of cheap motels on pay. And you typically find nothing more than some pieces of glass and broken pottery. Every once in a blue moon you find something cool, but those items generally end up getting stored away in a box full of other artifacts never to be seen again. I have seen this question before and then it was Zookeeper at the top comment too. Nice. Anyways, there's this making a Frozen 2 mini doku. Most animators work weeks for a minute of animation of one character, if not less. At one point they decided to leave out a piece that one person had solely been working on. Must be crappy to be part of the credits without being able to say this is my part. Baker. Coming into work at 3/4 am so you can have a 6 am baked goods is miserable. I'm a marine biologist. I spent the last week measuring defrosted fish heads. Working in an animal shelter. For sure. It's probably less intense than zookeeping. But the amount of people who apply or volunteer expecting to come in and play with cute puppies all day is absurd. We're basically animal maids. You deal with animals of all sorts of behavioral and developmental stages, eating and pissing every ducking where, and then you look over and this ducking dog named Chumbawamba swimming in his water bowl, so you gotta fill that up 6 times and dry his kennel out, and then you go and mop up the cat room around 10 kittens who want to eat your mop, and also 4 children who are all yelling that there's puke in the floor and I must clean it now. Not to mention all the extra behind the scenes work that the public never sees. How in the summer, during kitten and puppy season, the shelter built a house 500, max has 750, and I didn't take a lunch or sit at all for any of my shifts for the past 6 days. How the courts force us to put down animals that we know can be rehabilitated, but we don't get enough funding to fight it. How animal control just showed up with the 4th pregnant stray of the week, but intake is full and even double stacked in some cases. So your co-worker fosters the cats on her own. Not even to mention the itty ducking people who do damn it and end up getting bit or scratched, and the animal is the one who bears those consequences. I am the proudest shelter worker in the world. I adore my job, even at its hardest. I didn't sit for 9.5 hours today and I found a cat turd in the cuff of my jeans, but it doesn't matter because a bonded pair of adult cats got adopted today. I took 6 applications this morning and the cat in bank 4 with a goopy eye is already looking better. And we sent a mama out to foster. The hard work is always worth it for these babies. Lifeguarding. Everyone expects Baywatch act, saving lives all the time. But it's usually just sitting there blowing your whistle telling littlets to stop ducking around. Lawyer. No, it isn't like they show on TV. Hey, finally cases before the judge. Crap, the other party didn't show up. Next date that judge has given is 3 months away. Edit. Need to say a few things. 1. Thank you fellow redditors for the gold and silver. Now I can finally see what a lounge is all about. Now, little bit about me. I am from India and have moved on from litigation to academia. Personally, it was the right decision for me, as now I am way less stressed and can work on things that intellectually stimulate me. Having said that, I need to clarify that law is still a very rewarding profession. There is something in it for everyone. For those who want to change the world as well as for those who want to make money, it just demands too much of your time, plus the results of all your efforts are not immediate and that can get stressful. Also, yes, that song "Don't Be a Lawyer" by Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is pretty spot on. Working in a music store, musical instruments. Your days are spent listening to 50 different people play 50 different riffs poorly simultaneously, as if they're all putting on their own concert. Being a character performer at Disney. Don't get me wrong, there are some amazing perks and truly magical moments. I know I'm super lucky and tons of people would love to be in my shoes, but the day-to-day work is exhausting in ways I never thought possible. Guests are ridiculously abusive. I've had things said and done to me I never would have imagined. The company isn't always great. It highly depends on your leadership, and there's so much focus on your body and face, good and bad, that it can be incredibly depressing and difficult emotionally. Plus, you have to accept that there's very little upward mobility. Most people grow out of it, and it's rough to know that one day you'll get too old or too fat and you will have to start all over in a new career field. So you constantly are thinking either 1. What you're going to do when you leave. 2. How you're going to keep yourself there. I personally knew it would be temporary, and I now only work there seasonally while I have a normal career. But Disney has a way of sucking you in. Edit. Hey, my first award. Thank you so much. Working at a Charles Dickens fair is interesting, but not incredibly fun. It is hard to stay in character, and people get so mad when they see the Alice in Wonderland area. Yeah, we know it's not Charles Dickens, but we can't have a kids play area in the world of Oliver Twist, okay? Paleontologist. You don't get to work with full dinosaur skeletons and do all kinds of awesome expeditions. You're mostly sitting at a desk looking at some pictures and logging stuff on your computer. Maybe examining a fossil occasionally. If you're lucky you can go on a real dig. And OMG spend hours in the hot sun dusting off rocks. Gamma Master at an escape room. It's the same repetitive script, resetting the same stuff, giving clues and hints about the same things. The patrons are often competitive families who argue, obnoxious impatient 13-year-olds, college students who have been drinking, idiots who break it and touch it that I specifically told them not to. They never remember your initial instructions. If something gets broken during one group, you have to hurry and fix it before the next group. Being a writer. I always thought it was my absolute dream job. But the only job I could get after college was working in a content mill as a blog writer. I used to work 70-hour weeks staring at the computer in a basement of an old bank writing bullet articles about the dangers of mold, fence cleaning, and why you need a commercial awning, and the dream turned into a nightmare. While I still write occasionally, I am now working as a communications person, so it is a bit less heavy. Cybersecurity. Bro, the movies do us no justice. Hacking is not as fast nor is it as easy as the media makes it. It's a great field, but you spend a lot of time researching or watching paint dry, especially in the gov side. Edit. I'll never be able to answer all of your questions. I'll answer some PMS as I get a chance. Edit 2. No more questions about the field. Getting spammed. Video game testing. I've been working in the game industry for 6 years now, and teaching for 2. Testing video games is thought to be just how you just play games all day. Lololol, but it's actually very specific and arduous. First of all, there are a bunch of testing methodologies such as load soak testing, white room testing, version testing to name a few. But the most common one is functionality testing. Functionality testing is so if I walk into that corner with the shotgun in my inventory, I can clip through the wall. But if I have my M16 in my inventory, I don't clip through. Accountant. Everyone thinks it's all fun and number crunching, but the constant stream of women throwing their panties and wanting to bear your children is honestly exhausting. Seeing all this makes me feel like I don't want to have a job, but instead live off fish, as in catching and eating. It's my favorite thing to do, not the job of a fisherman. I write adult fan fiction as a side hustle. After a certain point it's just like writing a paper, except you have to keep thinking of different synonyms for a D. Bar bouncer. Hours of tension and boredom interrupted by moments of adrenaline fueled fear for your life. Then some arsehole pukes cheap booze on your shoes. Edit. I was 19 when I started, and I thought I would be getting paid to meet lots of girls and listen to live music. Which I did. I also had knives pulled on me, endured threats on my life, got my nose broken, not even in a fight, and stood around and did nothing most of the time. You don't get to relax, though, because you're constantly looking for trouble. Awful job. Worked at Dr. John's, an adult shop, from midnight to 8 AM. We had a lot of fun customers but a lot of total creeps. Plus the management were all crazy. Edit. A few quick stories. I was 18F. 5 feet 0 inches with red hair. Had a creepy guy stare at me from behind the racks for a while, so I got uncomfortable and went to the back room. The security guard radios me when the guy wants to check out. He bought all barely legal and redhead fetish videos. About 45 minutes later the phone rings and I answer. No one replied, so I asked if anyone was there. Can you hear me? That sort of thing. Hang up. Phone rings again. Same thing. That's when I learned that customers would call just to hear your voice. I had a 19F come in and say that she was a preacher's daughter, and I ended up walking her through the store explaining things. She was a lot of fun and spent most of the time blushing. An older man bought a blow-up sheet with noisemaker and a gallon of lube with pump as a gag gift for a friend. I don't know that many people who would spend over $200 on a gag gift. Working the night shift, we got a ton of drunk people who were usually harmless. We were also about 10 miles from a nasty strip club, so we got a lot of their employees looking for outfits or shoes. Sometimes they would come in with random men and the men would spend a lot of money on them. The assistant manager got caught changing the prices on items she wanted to buy and then taking her 50% employee discount on top of it. She spent like $300 or something in one day and walked out with what should have been $1,000 in merchandise. The security guard on duty that day got fired. They pressed charges on the assistant manager for theft. A month later the manager got charged with tampering with a witness because she tried to get the security guard to say stuff that wasn't true. The owner said the employees were supposed to refuse service to anyone who was gay or transgender. We never did. Owner would get drunk and log into our online camera system and mess with cameras so security guards couldn't watch the sales floor. Acting. All the ones we see on TV and movies are the 0.0001% of incredibly lucky and talented people who managed to thrive in a hostile and overcrowded industry. And even when you are working, the actual job itself is 99% sitting on apple crate in hot makeup waiting for some grips to move a lighting fixture. Then you say 3 lines over and over again for an hour, and then you rap. I do closed captioning. While I joke that yes, I get paid to watch TV, it's actually very tedious. And if you don't actually enjoy the programming, you're being forced to watch something you don't care for. Or worse, if it's something I do enjoy like a long form drama, we usually chop those up into 15-minute increments and split between everyone, so I only see chunks and not always even in order. It actually ruins the show for me. Edit. Wow. For a thread about my job not being fun. Did not expect the response for interested parties. To summarize the questions, anyone who knows proper grammar and spelling can pretty much work the technical side of closed captioning. For live writing you have to be a stenographer, which you need to train for with an associate's degree. If you're looking to do side transcription work, I'd recommend ordering a foot pedal online and looking into freelance sites such as Rev and Upwork. Being a chef. All the flair and awesomeness they show on Vice and Netflix is far from what actually happens in the industry. It's not all fancy plates and tattooed cool-haired guys doing their thing. It's a drug-infested, law-breaking work environment that only benefits the owners of a restaurant. Edit. Thank you for the love and good reads, people. I have some insane stories I'll share someday. For those asking, I am a sous chef at Michelin level restaurants nowadays. Not a chef de cuisine yet. Edit 2. You guys are insane. I once had a server approach my table and asked where I work because he noticed the scars on my arm. Strong. Toys R Us. Not around anymore, but I'm sure this applies to other toy stores. Though few that they are. It is still retail, and in this case it involves people's kids, so of course the parents are twice as entitled to have to deal with. Edit. Thank you, you Lord Tachankyonyt, for your energy tithing. I look forward to growing as gelatinous and as all-encompassing as Akira from The Attention. Edit. I rescind my earlier assumption that Toys R Us was closed. That is what I get for listening to rumors. It was shut down where I was from originally. I now see that it still exists in most of the US, Canada, and certain parts of Asia. Merry Christmas, Black Friday to you all. Flight attendant. 1. You are on call, on reserve, forever. Have a terrible schedule, have no life, and make no money for 5-10 years. 2. While you work for peanuts, you can't afford to use your flight benefits in any substantial way. 3. Then, when you finally get a chance to use your benefits for a trip, you have to fly standby, which means you aren't guaranteed to get on the flight you want. 4. Then, if you do make it out of town, you better have like a week off so you can make damn sure you're back in your base city in time for your next work shift. 5. Did I mention there is an act of US legislation, Railway Labor Act, that allows airlines to exploit so you don't get paid for certain work hours that you actually need to be working? For example, FAs don't get paid for boarding, or any time the plane is at the gate. Worst job ever. Edit. Typos and clarity. Well, I'm a scientist. I don't know if people usually think of that career as fun, but I think people think it's a lot more eureka, and a lot less this data has to be manually processed for 600 hours before I can analyze it. Librarian. It's not all books and being quiet. There are also spreadsheets. Park ranger. Don't get me wrong, I loved it, but a lot of days it was less talk about cool animals while wearing your ranger hat and more the toilets are overflowing again. Go clean the septic tank filter and stir the tank with a shovel. With a little bit of hey, there's a methed out guy down by the bridge. Can you convince him to leave without killing anyone? All for the low price of $26 a year with a college degree. Edit so more people will see this. I hate the idea that this comment might dissuade anybody from becoming a park ranger. These jobs are so varied, and I just happen to work for an underfunded agency with too few staff. Honestly, I still love this job and would have kept doing it forever if a higher paying outdoor environmental job hadn't pretty much fallen into my lap. Being a park ranger taught me so much, and most importantly, I got trained as a wildland firefighter, which is still my favorite part of my job. If you've always dreamed of being a park ranger, please go for it. Video game developer, non-indie. They're notoriously overworked, especially during crunch time. The field is highly competitive too, so I imagine if you have the slightest issue with work being your entire life, it wouldn't be hard to replace you. Voice acting is also pretty brutal. Voice actors generally don't get paid very well and they're straining their throats or whatever. Trimming weed. IDKY. People think working with weed is like working in the Willy Wonka factory. It's not. You literally get to make tiny cuts with sticky scissors for 8 hours. Although not necessarily bad. Beekeeping. Get used to the constant sound of buzzing during hive inspections, swarm removals, plus wearing the protective suit in hot ass weather for hours on end. Give or take the situation. Also, there appears to be a large number of beekeepers allergic to bees, so EpiPens are a must. Working in a flower shop. It's just like any other retail job, but people constantly tell you how fun your job must be. Also, helping grieving families choose funeral flowers is not fun. Event planner. It's hell on earth when you have a million things going on and you're waiting for everything to come together. Programming. Please help me. I need a hug. Why did I need to be such a nerdy ducking kid when I was younger? More than edit. Sorry if I made you guys question your career path. I wouldn't trade programming for anything. D less than. Managing a dog hotel. Breaking up dog fights. Dog sitting in the lobby and the occasional awful owners. Edit. Thanks for all the upvotes. Sad my most popular comment is about my job lol. I honestly think being a streamer and a YouTuber is a lot less fun than it seems to be, but a lot of people know that by now. Still though, it doesn't seem unfun. I'm a forensic scientist and it's literally the only thing people ask me about on dating apps. It's very technical work and it's extremely routine. Veterinarian. Oh sir, truly shocked that nobody has said this one yet. We have the highest suicide rate of any profession. It's a lot more talking to people about money and a lot less doing medicine and saving animals than people hope going into it. Not all of the animals are grateful. Some of them want to bite you because you're hurting them and they don't know it's in their best interest. Clients can be hugely manipulative jerks. There's lots of student debt. And don't get me started on near constant exposure to low levels of anesthetic gases. Edit. My colleagues showed up. So for anyone struggling, I want to leave this. Not one more vet. Barnes & Noble. Your job has literally nothing to do with books and it obviously attracts a lot of that type. Myself included. Not a specific job but traveling for work. I'm in tech and a lot of people starting out talk about wanting to go to customer sites and get out in the field. I love to travel for fun but it's hard to fit in the fun stuff when you have presentations and stuff to worry about and a lot of times your customers aren't in the fun cities anyway. I also think I prefer the stability and day-to-day schedule of traveling less frequently. Honest most real answer. Any job, every job. Until you've done it. You only have an idealized version of it in your head. A pediatric nurse. Being a nurse for children and adolescents. Everyone in nursing school talks about how much they want to work with kids. The reality is that a pediatric nurse sees more cases of abuse and neglect than any other specialty. Doesn't matter where you are in a pediatric hospital. It's the thing you see most. I've seen so many DCS, Department of Child Services, caseworkers that I've gotten to know some of them and became acquaintances with them. Sure, working with children and adolescents is great. But people don't think about the most essential piece of that puzzle, which is their families. It doesn't matter how good of care you give to those kids. If you don't loop the parents into that care, you may as well just not be doing anything for them. Working at an amusement park. Video editor. The more I do it, the more I can't be asked. An artist. Time management is very hard. And it becomes more of a job instead of fun hobby. Elementary teacher. Teacher. Children are psychic vampires. Wow, I expected everyone to say this but I haven't seen it yet. %100 bartender. We've all had fun in bars but never the bartender. Imagine throwing a house party where you're responsible for everyone and you can't drink yourself. Edit. Yes. Yes. I know a lot of places are fine with you drinking but I always found it made the job harder rather than easier. Being a boss or manager of any kind. You think it's gonna be all gravy cause you're on top but there are two ways it can go. 1. You're overworked and still not getting paid enough for this shitty. 2. No one is paying attention to your work because you are the boss. So you don't actually have to do anything. Or even have anything to do, so you are just chronically bored out of your skull trying to find something to do that looks like boss work. Pilot. You could lose your career with a single illness or injury, which could be happening to me soon. Airport baggage handler. Yeah, it's fun being able to see parts of an airport people wouldn't normally get to see and drive around the airfield in spare time to have a look at some planes, especially fancy private jets, but my god is it hard. Long hours. No social life because when you have days off you spend them catching lost sleep. Absolutely horrendous pay for hazardous work. In our training video they showed us the aftermath of someone who had been hit by an ATR 500 propeller and literally just smiled and said don't do this. Also, what some people don't realize is that those bags don't magically appear on the plane. Some are loaded individually by hand, this is called loose load, and not into bins, which is a lot easier. You could be stacking over 200 bags in a space so cramped you can't even be on your knees if you are tall. Some of the bag's cargo can weight over 30 kilograms, so it is physically back-breaking work, and on some days you may not even get a break on a 12-hour shift, and yes, that happens a lot. But the absolute worst part is the bodies. When someone is being sent home to be buried, we are the ones who put that coffin into the hold and tie your loved one down, and it's not easy for us. My most recent coffin was that of a 2-year-old baby, and my god, I was in tears tying that coffin down in the hold. So next time you're packing for that vacation, remember we are down there. Edit. While this exploded overnight. Thank you for the awards, kind strangers. Also, yes, I'm aware a lot of people don't see this job as fun, but for people with an interest in aviation, any job at an airport is fun. Professional photographer. Not like hobbyist, But business owning photographer sucks the love right out of your work. Because you started the business to take pictures. Then Karen doesn't like the way she looks in one of them, so she wants the whole set for free plus a reshoot for free plus those images for free. Then the two high school kids getting into a very ill-advised marriage at exactly 18 years old wants to book you for their wedding, but their budget is only $50. Then Karen calls back because she loves your work and wants to pay for another shoot. But only if you agree to do her friend's daughter's destination wedding for free. Then you get a call from your last bride. It's been 2 weeks since their wedding. Where the duck are her pictures. Then you get no legs from a bridal expo. Then a client finds out you don't support their candidate and tries to take you to court to get her money back. Then some insta thought who thinks she's influencing people offers a collab where you take pro photos of her and she adds it insta filters to it and claims her friend took them. And she's not gonna pay. And then you get some entitled mom who wants you to photograph every day of her newborn's first year of life for $100. I went back to being a hobbyist,